A lot of people think financing a Spyder is just a money conversation. The monthly payment, your interest rate, potential down payment, your warranty, and you're done. But after talking to riders and reading owner discussions online and watching how people actually behave after they buy these machines, financing changes something much deeper. It changes the relationship you have with the Spyder itself. And honestly, I don't think enough people talk about that. Because the day you finance a Spyder, the machine stops being just a toy. Not because it becomes a commitment. And depending on your mindset, that commitment can either deepen your connection or ownership experience or quietly destroy it. I'm Kevin, low budget Spyder rider, and if you're new to the channel, welcome. Today we're going to talk about why financing a Spyder changes the ownership experience. Have you ever noticed how two people can buy the exact same Spyder, the same model, same engine, same comfort, and same technology? But one owner absolutely loves the experience, while the other constantly feels stressed, even disappointed, or at times unsure. That usually has less to do with the machine and more to do with the pressure attached to the machine. And sometimes financing can create that pressure. Not always bad pressure, but pressure nonetheless. But because once that payment shows up every month, our expectations can change. Now the Spyder doesn't just need to be fun, it needs to justify itself. And that's a completely different psychological relationship to have with your Spyder. In my opinion, I think this is where a lot of riders get caught off guard. Before they buy the Spyder, they're dreaming emotionally. They're imagining freedom, those long road trips, escaping stress, and having adventure in every ride. But after financing, the ownership becomes performance based. We start thinking, am I riding it enough? Was this worth the money? Why am I still looking at upgrades? Why does maintenance suddenly bother me more? Ultimately, why do I feel guilty when it just sits? This emotional shift can be real for some, and you can actually see it in owner communities online. A lot of riders don't regret the Spyder itself, they regret the financial pressure surrounding the ownership experience, and that can be a major difference. Because here's something nobody tells us. Financing a machine can often affect how we ride, not just what we ride. Some riders become more proactive, more anxious, and at times more cautious. Others start trying to force themselves to ride more just to mentally justify the payment. And then there are riders who accidentally turn the Spyder into an identity purchase. Meaning, if I spent this much money, this thing needs to completely transform my life. And that can be dangerous territory because no machine can carry that kind of emotional expectation forever. Not a Spyder, not a traditional motorcycle, not even a car. Nothing. And that's where the ownership psychology gets really interesting. The people who seem happiest with their Spyders usually understand one thing. The machine is supposed to support our lifestyles, not become the lifestyle. And that's a huge difference because when financing stretches us too far financially, the Spyder can slowly stop feeling freeing. And at that point, every accessory starts to feel expensive, every tire replacement starts feeling irritating, every insurance payment gets a little more personal. And those rainy weekends where we can't ride starts to feel like wasted money. And eventually, an owner can start resenting the very thing they were excited about in the beginning. Not because the Spyder changed, but because the emotional meaning attached to the payment changed. And we have to be honest if we're going to have this type of conversation. This type of stress is not just limited to a Spyder. Any modern motorcycle is not cheap in this day and age. We've got the purchase price, dealer fees, insurance payments, maintenance contract costs, accessories, comfort upgrades, paying for storage if you don't have a garage at home to keep a bike of this size, rider accessories, expensive communication systems, and even costs that are associated when we take those long trips. And the deeper we get into this ownership, the more we realize the monthly payment is only the beginning. And that realization can surprise a lot of us, especially first time owners. But I also want to be fair here. Financing is not automatically bad, not even close. And for some of us, financing is exactly what allows us to enter this type of ownership experience at the right time in life. Some of us finance responsibly, we budget correctly, we ride constantly, and we love every second of our ownership experience. And honestly, those of us who bought the Spider for these reasons, it's because we understand ourselves and our needs before we buy the machine. And that's real strategy, true self awareness, because a wrong financing situation can make the right Spider feel wrong. And the right financial mindset can make even a modest Spider feel amazing. And this is why I think a lot of people that are shopping for a Spider, they tend to ask the wrong questions. Instead of asking, can I get approved? Maybe the better question is, how will this payment affect my relationship with riding 6 months from now? That's the real conversation. Because approval and affordability are not the same thing. And emotional affordability matters too. If the payment creates stress, stress changes ownership. If the payment creates guilt, guilt changes ownership. If the payment forces unrealistic expectations, those expectations eventually collide with reality. And here's another uncomfortable truth. Some riders don't actually want the ownership experience. They want the emotional high of the acquisition, that feeling of, I finally got one. But eventually, the excitement settles, and all that's left is the actual relationship between the rider and the machine. That's when the financial reality becomes visible. Now you discover, do you generally enjoy riding a Spider? Do you enjoy touring? Do you even enjoy doing your own maintenance? Do you enjoy the riding style? Or are you mostly chasing the emotional moment of the purchase? And those can be two very different things. And I think this is why some Spider owners become deeply connected to the machine, while others quietly fall out of love with it after the honeymoon phase ends. The machine exposes the truth about the purchase decision over time, and financing amplifies whatever that truth already is. If the decision was grounded, ownership usually becomes rewarding. If the decision was emotional and rushed, the payment eventually magnifies every doubt. So in the end, if somebody asked me, should I finance a Spider? I honestly wouldn't start with numbers first. I'll start with questions like, why do you want one? What kind of ride in life are you actually trying to build? Are you buying for yourself or for an image? Will the payment create freedom or pressure? Because financing doesn't just change your bank account, it changes the ownership experience itself. And understanding that might save somebody from buying the wrong Spider for the wrong reasons. If you enjoy this kind of Spider ownership content, subscribe to the channel so you won't miss my next video. Until then, remember to live for the experiences and definitely enjoy the ride. Peace.